Good evening from Rocky Mountain PBS. I'm Cynthia Hessin. This is Colorado State of Mind. On our minds tonight, two segments, both of them science related. Coming up shortly, my interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson, who was in town this week for the National Space Symposium in Colorado Springs. You probably know him for hosting Nova Science Now for 5 seasons, and he's the director of New York's Hayden Planetarium. He's also an honorary director of the Space Foundation, which is headquartered in Colorado Springs. But before we talk about space frontiers, we turn to the very earthly pursuit of power and light, specifically renewable energy. When the World Renewable Energy Forum launches in Denver on May 13th, there will be more than 800 presentations by energy researchers from around the world. Aside from the technical, the forum will also put an emphasis on environmental and cultural consequences of the progress in clean energy. With me now is Dr. Barbara Farhar, who is from the Renewable and Sustainable Energy Institute at University of Colorado in Boulder. She's an internationally recognized expert on the adoption of new energy technologies. And you're also known as a sustainable energy sociologist, a great term. You are going to be presenting a workshop at this conference called Engaging Women in Sustainable Energy or Clean Energy Solutions. Why is the forum putting an emphasis on that as a key issue?
I've been working in the energy and gender area for about 16 years now to bring that emphasis to the World Renewable Energy Congresses. And this forum is a joint effort of the World Renewable Energy Congress and the American Solar Energy Society together. And so the forum now is including the work that has gone on in developing energy and gender as a crucial part and feature of the overall congresses.
And are we talking here about women entrepreneurs in clean energy, or?
Well, let me say there are two aspects of energy and gender that are being emphasized in the forum. The first has to do with the nexus of energy, gender, and poverty, where we are concerned with the situation of women in the developing world who are responsible for gathering fuel wood and hauling water and doing a good deal of manual labor, who are working without electrification, who are giving birth in the dark. I mean, extremely challenging situations. We're interested in providing a way to give them voice, to talk about their experiences and their programs from their perspective. So that's one key theme. The second key theme is women in science and technology, women in sustainable energy, science and technology. So we will be having some forums with women who have had strong careers in sustainable energy to talk about their careers, to encourage and serve as models for younger women to enter the field, and also to showcase women in energy organizations. For example, WOWI, which is Women of Wind Energy.
Good name.
WISE, which is Women in Sustainable Energy, and Energia, which is the International Network of Energy and Gender, which is based in the Netherlands.
So I didn't even realize until I was reading some of the material on you that there is a Women in Sustainable Energy group that's headquartered here in Denver.
Yes, there is a group that started several years ago. It's come up from the grassroots. It's a 501c3, and it focuses a good deal on this aspect of women in science and technology. It provides a place for women to network, but that group has also been active in fundraising to pay for our workshop on energy, gender, and poverty, and to provide homestays for some of our visitors from other countries, from the developing world.
Do women bring a different perspective to energy production and many of these questions that you're raising?
Yes, because a good deal of this forum is going to be focused on what we might call utility scale technologies. Utility scale, large scale wind, concentrating solar power, also some in the built environment. But the energy and gender part focuses on distributed energy and how we can have access for women, increase their access to sustainable energy technologies. Distributed electrification is one of our key themes. Cooking is a key theme, of course.
That's certainly something universal around the world
It
that
is.
energy, or that women do.
Half the world's population is cooking on 3-stone fires, a lot of it in enclosed spaces, and women are exposed to indoor air quality problems at such a rate because of this that it's known that women and children are dying at the rate of 1.2 million annually because of these indoor air quality problems. So we have to be concerned about cooking. We're concerned also about women's empowerment. And finally, out of this workshop and the other workshops we've had, we produce recommendations to carry to international conferences. So this year we'll be working on recommendations to carry to the Rio Plus 20 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, which will be held in June. And so the deliberations out of our workshop will be taken to the global summit.
So if that's what's going on in the undeveloped world, what is the developed world doing to solve some of these problems?
Well, let me make a couple of comments. First of all, one of the programs we want to feature in our Sunday workshop is a program called Eagle Energy, because there are 18,000 households on the Navajo reservation and in Navajo land in our country that have no electrification whatsoever. And
so this is not just the developing world.
That's right. And these households are going to Walmart in Gallup, New Mexico, and buying kerosene at the first of the month, and that's what they use for lighting and heating and so forth. So they're
living in that sun country.
Exactly, with so much solar potential. So one of the projects we'll be discussing will be how to have distributed electrification in Navajo land. So another thing that we're doing, there are so many things we're doing. Dr. Laura Stachel is an obstetrician in San Francisco who has developed a solar suitcase. And she carries this to Nigeria, to communities, to provide electrification in clinics so that women can give birth in the light, so that cesarean sections, if need be, can be conducted with actual electricity. So that there can be refrigeration for blood, so there can be walkie-talkies, so they can find doctors quickly if women in childbirth have need of these physicians. Another thing we're doing is EnviroFit, which is a nonprofit in Fort Collins that sprang out of the Colorado State University, and their engines and energy conversion laboratory, where they've done some fantastic work on developing cook stoves that will stand up over time, are lined by wonderful materials, thermal materials that were developed by Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And these stoves are colorful, and you can lift them, people can use them with just a small amount of wood and very few emissions. So they're much safer for people to use. So that's another example of a program that we do.
Those are all really interesting, because I guess to those of us who are not involved in energy and technology, you hear about the World Renewable Energy Forum coming, and it is a lot of technology, and the presenters are pure scientists, right?
Well, yes, but the presenters in the Energy and Gender Workshop are coming to talk about these kinds of programs and their experiences in getting small-scale, appropriate-scale technologies, such as biogas digesters, for example, and small-scale lighting to women, families in the developing world. And so they're speaking from a programmatic experience and looking at the impacts of these small-scale technologies and how we can get them to be more available. That's right.
Is there something about the fact that sustainable energy is a relatively new pursuit that there would be so many women looking at those kinds of issues? I mean, the same is not true for oil and gas, is it?
You know, I think that's what happened back in the early 90s is Mohammed Yunus came forward with this notion of microcredit, which was to make small loans to women who were known to have a 98% payback rate, unlike even those of us in the United States. The poorest of the poor are paying back their loans, especially the women. And so he wanted to use that as an economic development tool. And it became evident that women were spending so many hours a day carrying loads of fuel wood on their backs, carrying water. Children could not go to school because they had to be out carrying wood. Even at the age of 4 and 5, they were out, particularly girls, carrying wood. Well, then we got the development of the Millennium Development Goals. The nations of the world agreed that we need to improve, that we need to have these goals to have universal education, or at least universal primary education, for example. And none of these goals mentioned energy, but they're all related to energy because girls can't go to school if they're out gathering wood. So gradually, as we increase the education of women and girls, we make other forms of energy more available, lighting, so children can study in the developing world, and so that women can do piecework that they can sell and increase their family's income and pay back small microloans. Then we can look at increasing the standard of living in these countries. So energy has a crucial role to play, and that's become more understood. And we are gaining on the Millennium Development Goals.
That's good to hear.
Yes, primary education is very much more available now. It's getting into the 80 and 90% globally. More and more women are getting into parliaments and places of power, positions of power in countries around the world, in developing countries. There are gender audits being done of national energy policies that will make policymakers aware of the different ways in which men and women use energy and are concerned about energy. And all of these things will definitely improve, the standard of living and the quality of life for these countries.
This is really so fascinating. Now, are only scientists welcome at this forum?
No, in fact, the Energy and Gender Workshop is open to the public. Anybody can go online and register for it at www.aces.org/conference, and they can indicate the Energy and Gender Workshop. It's $125 to attend all day, and it includes lunch and tea breaks, and it is on Mother's Day.
Well, that's very appropriate, isn't it? Thank you to Barbara Farhar for the preview of the World Renewable Energy Forum 2012, which is coming to Denver in May. And now on Colorado State of Mind, a